Welcome to the Wholesaling Inc. podcast, America's #1 podcast for new real estate investors, where we know that finding discounted properties is the most proven path to financial freedom. I am your host, Brent Daniels, Mr. TTP, and I am telling you this: if I can do it, so can you. So let's get started. I want you to imagine this. I want you to imagine that every single day you make $1,000. I want you to imagine you make $1,083 every single day, because I am telling you, my guest on the podcast today started in November 9th of 2020. Since then, over the last 8 months, has done $260,000 in assignment fees wholesaling out of Tampa Bay, Florida. And not only that, get this, he just moved to Tampa from Michigan, knew absolutely nobody, had no connections in the business, and went out there absolutely cold and has been on fire ever since. It is my pleasure to introduce to the Wholesaling Inc. podcast, Nick Camarada. Nick, say hello to everybody.
Hey, how's everybody doing? How you doing, Brent? Thanks for having me, man. I'm blessed to be here.
I am excited. This is one of those exciting moments where you come into Phoenix, we're sitting in the podcast, we're eye to eye, we're face to face, and we get to share your story, which I think is absolutely incredible, because you're 25 years old. You decided to get out of the cold of the Midwest, go to somewhere where it's more tropical, and you had a passion for real estate, and you wanted to do something special, and you really got out of the gates fast. And I think there's a lot to be learned here, like as we start pulling apart your and hearing your story, that can help a lot everybody that's listening, because it's all about getting in action. It's all about starting and having that confidence and that courage to start taking action. So take us back a little bit. Right before you started wholesaling, what were you doing?
Well, I mean, I was actually finishing up my college degree. I was in college up until about the time COVID started. I played baseball in college and never really put a whole lot of thought into what I was going to do if baseball didn't work out. I had kept my grades up, and I'd always kind of known that I was going to be in the medical field, just because it was something that I knew would be a good field to be in, all that kind of stuff. But like I said, my focus was always on baseball. And so then, COVID hit. I was finishing up school and kind of thinking that I was going to take a couple of, I had gotten my degree, but I needed a couple more classes for graduate school. And so I was doing that. Then COVID hit and all that kind of stopped. And then, I mean, long story short, I found out that I didn't want to be in the medical field. And so I started looking at, what I wanted to do with my life, doing a little bit of soul searching, I guess you can call it.
Sure.
And, I actually started just, on YouTube, like most people that come onto this podcast are, they're on YouTube looking up stuff, how to, make money in real estate, do all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I was going to get my license, and then I came across Max Maxwell on YouTube, and then I came across you on YouTube, and honestly just went down the rabbit hole and watched probably every video you've put out, and kind of learned as I went. And
why, I mean, what was it about? What made the switch from you're going down this path? You're a super athlete. You're a pitcher, in college, right? I mean, obviously you've got designs on taking it as far as possible. You decide, well, maybe I can't take it as far as I want to. So medical is a nice, backup. Right. What changed? Like, why not stay with medical? Why decide that you want to be a real estate entrepreneur? I mean, that's true. I mean, that's. Yeah. When we look at the different options in life, those are like on two totally different tracks.
Yeah, no, they're not close at all. No, I mean, I guess I just looked at where I would be, 20, 25 years down the road, and if I would be happy with what I was doing every day. And I mean, I liked the medical field. It was something that I can say I had interest in it, but I never had passion in it. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. I was never passionate about the school work or anything like that. Whereas with real estate, man, I was like addicted to it. I was watching YouTube, reading all day, every day throughout quarantine, just obsessing about it. And I never had any feeling like that through, all the schooling that I did. I only really felt that way about baseball and now real estate.
So Rich Dad Poor Dad?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep, definitely.
Rich Dad Poor Dad. Yep. Think and Grow Rich. Did you get into all that? Right, all
those,
the classic foundational books.
Yep,
right?
Absolutely. No, those were two that I still got sitting on on my bookshelf. Let's see, The One Thing. The One Thing was a big one.
So when you go on YouTube, you see Max Maxwell, you see me, you're starting to understand, like, what did you first think of wholesaling? Like, were you like, oh, that makes sense? Or was it like, oh, wait, what's going on here?
I mean, it definitely sounded a little almost too good to be true.
Sure.
Like, what you can just have a conversation with the homeowner and, get a contract and then sell the contract to an investor that's gonna purchase the property. It sounds a little far-fetched, but I mean, I also know that there's a lot of things that I don't know out there, you know what I mean? So I was just like, let's look into this and see what it's all about, and I eventually just dove in, man.
I love it. So you move into a brand new market, right? And I think that this plays to anybody that's just getting started. A lot of people are like, well, I don't understand if it's a deal or not a deal, right? That's one of the biggest hurdles that we face as we're getting started is I had a good conversation with this property owner, and they gave me a price. I just don't know if this is a deal or not. Like, how did you get so comfortable being able to run the valuations on a market where you just moved to?
Well, I mean, I had you for a lot of that.
Sure.
We talked about a lot of properties starting out. A lot of YouTube. I mean, you can find a lot of comping videos and stuff like that. Jamil does obviously a great show that's straight out of comping. So I watched a lot of that. One of the big things that I came across when I did get my first deal was that I made a connection with a disposition manager at another wholesaling company down there, and we became pretty good friends and all that kind of stuff. And so he would kind of help me out with like where I would need to have a property or he would kind of tell me where we would sell it for. Yeah. So I knew obviously I could do the math backwards from there. But yeah, I mean, honestly, just obsessing about it, man. Obsessing about real estate, obsessing about everything. I mean, I didn't do much except learn about wholesaling real estate for about the last 7-8 months.
It's exciting though.
It really is. No, it didn't feel like work at all, man. I love it. I love it. So
okay, and I want to get into this because we talked before the podcast about the fact that you've closed $260,000 in deals, but you've split this 50-50 with the person that you just mentioned here, right, that is doing your disposition. And for anybody that it is new to the podcast or new to this, watching this on the Brent Daniels YouTube channel, there's 3 parts to wholesaling, right? The first part is lead generation. That's where we all start, right? That's where you really focused, right, is lead generation, going hunting for opportunities. The second part of the business is converting those leads into actual signed agreements, right? This is when you're actually committed. You're committed to the seller and they're committed to you. And then the third part is exit strategy, right? And traditionally in wholesale, we assign our contract, we assign our right to purchase the contract to another investor, and we get paid for that. Right. That's an assignment fee. That's the exit strategy. But there's a million different, I mean, not a million, there's a handful of other different exit strategies that you could use, like buying it and flipping it, or buying it to hold it, or buying it and tearing it down and developing something else, right? But traditionally, we do disposition. That's the word, disposition. So it's a third of the business, and you were so focused on lead generation that you just didn't want to do the disposition. Like, are you now starting to see that, you got to build up your cash buyer database and like really make it a big effort? Right. Like, talk to me about where you're at in your business.
Yeah. I mean, like I had said, a big thing, I had read The One Thing by Gary Keller when I had first started out. And that whole book is all about, if you can do one thing that makes everything else either easier or irrelevant, what would that be, and focus on that. And obviously, as somebody that didn't have any market knowledge, didn't have, any connections or anything like that, it was get a contract, and so the rest would kind of fall into place. And it's been great. I mean, he's helped me dispose some deals, and it's been awesome. And it's kind of helped me build a foundation. But certainly that's something that I need to start getting into, is starting to build that side of the business up by myself. Because like you said, it's two-thirds of the business is the generation and the conversion. So just got to get the last part together. but yeah, I've.
But you've been focused.
Yeah, right. That's.
When you started out, talk to me about your schedule. What was your schedule? Because you went full time.
Yeah. No, I had some unemployment money from the pandemic, and I decided to just put that all into my marketing and my living expenses and that kind of stuff. And so I would wake up and go to the gym around 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, have breakfast, all that kind of stuff, and then just be ready to go by about around 9:30.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be on the phone from 9:30 to 7 most days. Honestly, I mean,
all day,
pretty much all day. If I wasn't on the phone, I'd be driving for dollars or going on an appointment or something.
Well, I remember because every single day you were texting me. Yeah. What do you think of this deal? What do you think of this price? What do you think? I was like, oh my gosh, he's on fire. Yeah. And then finally it was like boom, 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 and then you got your first deal under contract.
Yep. Yeah, they started falling. I didn't have a whole lot going on for the first couple of months. I mean, I would have sellers that would entertain a conversation, but a big part of it is finding out who's actually a lead and who's not a lead. And so yeah, I mean, I didn't have a whole lot going on for the first 2-3 months, and then month 4 it kind of blew up. So
and I tell everybody to expect like the next 90 days. The most important word is sustainable. Mm-hmm. That's the word, sustainable. It's got to be sustainable action. Right? And if you have the schedule to be able to do that, and you've got that discipline, probably from playing sports, right? Mm-hmm. Probably just that discipline that if you push, great things are going to happen. Right? You've got a ton of hope, and you've got a ton of like backup with people that you're either squatting up with in your area or with me or whatever else. Mm-hmm. And so it clears the table for you to just do the income producing activity of this business, which is talking to the distressed property owner.
Yeah, that's it.
And you just went bananas with it.
Yeah, I just wanted to focus on having as many conversations as I could and finding as many opportunities as I could. And like I said, they started kind of falling after that 3rd or 4th month. I told myself when I got into it, not to expect any kind of pay or anything like that I actually told myself 5 months, so it was a good surprise to have it on month 4.
Typically, listen, if you're making sustainable efforts every day for 90 days, at least Monday through Friday or whatever else, you're going to get deals. You're going to get deals. I mean, you were a perfect example of it. I mean, do you have a huge background in picking up the phone and just cold calling people?
Nothing. I never had a job. I mean, I delivered pizza in high school and I managed a bar in college. So I had 0 sales experience, nothing like that. So,
right.
Yeah. No.
So you're learning through experience.
Yeah.
Was it scary?
No, I mean, on day one, I called for 6-7 hours. So I mean, it was. I can't necessarily say I was scared. I mean, there were certainly times where I didn't know what I was talking about. I mean, but I knew, I kind of accepted the fact that I was going to learn and, fail as I was going. And I would if I just put in the work, good things would happen. So, and that's exactly what's happened.
And it just started building up your pipeline leads to where they started closing. Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. So, well, let's break down a deal. Let's talk about a specific deal that you have done and really walk people through it, because I think that this is my favorite part of these podcasts, is because it's a real deal that's closed, and we're gonna look at we're gonna tear this thing apart and figure out how you found it, what did you say, what was the situation, what was going on with the seller, and what did you make. So before we get to what you made, let's lay the groundwork here. How did you find this lead? Was it a cold call?
Yeah, well, everything I've done is cold calling. Okay. But so what I will do on the weekdays is I would pull lists and call just Monday through Friday, and then Saturday I would call for probably 4 or 5 hours and then go driving for dollars the rest of the day Saturday and go driving for dollars on Sunday. And this was a driving for dollars lead. I called them for the first time, I think in December or something like that. And they had been, it was a hoarder house, kind of a situation where it was a family home that the parents had passed away. And the sisters were both grown, but one of them was living in the property, and it kind of just fell apart for the most part. And I mean, she obviously had a lot of belongings in there. I mean, it was one of those floor to ceiling, pretty much junk houses. And it was a driving for dollars lead. I cold called them for the first time, and the sister was still living in the house, so they obviously weren't ready to sell or anything like that. But they wanted me to follow up with them because it was on their horizon. And I just followed up with them for a couple months, and then eventually they Eventually, they wanted me to come out and check out the property. There was a lot of animosity between the two sisters because one of them was really wanting to sell the property, and the other one, the one that was living in it, didn't want to sell the property. So, yeah, I had to play a lot of kind of mediator between the two sisters, that kind of thing. But, yeah, so, I mean, long story short, it was a Driving for Dollars lead that I cold called. So.
Awesome. Are you using a app?
For the Driving for Dollars,
Yep.
yeah, I'm on PropStream. They have like a Driving
Awesome.
for Dollars thing. I just save them on the mobile favorites and pull them that way.
Love it. Love it. PropStream, guys, you can get access at ttpdata.com. Make sure you check that out. I would say it is the number one tool for real estate investors, without a doubt, is PropStream.
Every dollar I made has come from PropStream.
Right. So ttpdata.com, check that out. So you're driving around. Literally, you're just looking for properties that are in rough shape. This property takes the cake probably on the street because it's a hoarder house and there's just a lot of things going on in that property. And you're looking at this like, oh my gosh, if I can get a hold of that property owner. You find out it's two sisters. They inherited it.
From the parents that passed away.
So the parents passed away. They inherited one's.
Well, it was actually in a trust. So yeah, we had to get that figured out with the. Through title. But it was in a trust, yes.
So in the trust, was the ownership going to the sister that you were talking to, or the sister that lived there, or is it they both owned it?
They both owned it.
So you had to have conversations with both of them to fit the timeline in. Right. And here's the thing, guys. If you're running up against a property that what we would classify as a hoarder house, like there's just a lot of stuff in there, it is very difficult for those property owners to move because this is their life. This is their nest. You know, they pulled all these things into their house. They have a special connection to all these little things.
And that one was their childhood home too.
And it's their childhood home.
Yep.
And but it's time. I mean, this property's only going to get in worse shape.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably a financial burden at some point to both the sisters, and a lot of families can't handle the financial burden. Was the other sister paying anything to live there, or was it free and clear?
No, they had it free and clear.
Free and clear. Yeah. So the sister's living there for free?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But it's just a property. The other sister was, she was telling me about how it's hard for her to even go in there because, it's their family home that was pretty much destroyed. I mean, when I went to go check it out the first time, you could hear the mice running through the vents and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, there was just a lot of tension between the sisters where one of them wanted to move on and get rid of it, and the other one was kind of stuck in her place. I mean, they were both in their 60s, so they had 60 years of their stuff and then their parents' stuff all in the house. So that was just to them or to her, everything was valuable.
So what was the conversation you had with the sister that was living in the house? I mean, how do you say, listen, this property's going to get lower in value every single day?
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's just more and more deferred maintenance, more and more stuff in there, more and more opportunities for animals to start burrowing in and living in there and chewing up things. And this happens. I mean, this is real life. It's not normal life, but it's real life.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? So what was the conversation you had with her?
I mean, I didn't really have to necessarily convince her to make the decision to sell. I kind of followed up with them until they were kind of both like, all right, let's sell the property. It was more figuring out the details about it. Was more like, all right, we have to have it cleaned by this time so I can have the movers come in at this time and all this kind of stuff because whenever the sisters got to talking about it, they kind of had arguments about it. Yeah. So I was kind of the one that had to be just mediating both of that, like, here, we're going to do this on this day and we're going to have, the movers are going to come and help you take all your stuff out on this day. And so, yeah, it wasn't necessarily that I had to convince her to sell. It was more just handling everything. Yeah. On the way to the closing table.
Love it. And that is such an important thing that you said. You can't convince somebody to sell their house. You're not. I'm telling you. There's not magic words. There's not like magic scripts that you can do and all of a sudden people are enchanted and they're going to sell their property at a discount. They're either going to want to do it or they're not. The beautiful thing that you're talking about here, and that's what I kind of wanted to get out of this, is it's the timing. You were there at the right time. You were doing the follow-up. It was finally time for that sister. She was ready to move.
Right.
The other sister was going. And our job is never to convince. Our job is to make the process smooth.
Right. Yep.
That's what we do.
Yep. That's exactly
right.
it.
We help them move their stuff. We help them get organized so that all their paperwork's right with the title company. We make sure that it closes in an appropriate time frame that they're looking for.
Right.
Maybe you even close before they have to move out so that they have some money to be able to move out. All those things we do to make it smooth.
Right.
But we're never convincing.
Right.
And that's kind of what I wanted to pull out there because I think, when we're like, I get a lot of questions. How do I convince them to sell faster? How do I shorten the timeline and do this?
Yeah.
And there are certain questions that you can ask. Most of the time, when you are following up with a lead that wants to sell, to shorten the timeline, it's about removing the obstacles to selling the property.
Right.
So that's what you did.
Yeah, and that was a big part of my mindset with it because, I know when you're cold calling, most of the time you're not going to get that person that, that wants to sell that week. I have had that happen a time or two, but it's obviously it's not something that you can bank on. So kind of my mindset going into it was that I'm going to identify the people that in the near future are going to want to sell the property, and then I just make sure that they think of me when that time comes. You know
Fantastic.
what I mean? Rather than trying to convince them, it's just make sure that they know that I'm here. That when that day comes, that they're ready to sell the property, they think of me.
Love it. So, what'd you lock it up for? What'd you sell it for?
So we locked this one up for $236,000, and we sold it for $297,500.
Ooh, so what'd you net?
$32,500.
$32,500. Ring that bell. I love it. $32,500 from one call.
One call.
Well, that was the spark.
That started.
There's probably a lot more follow-up calls and conversations.
There was, like I was telling you before we kind of went on the air, I did have to hire a moving company to get her stuff out, and obviously, like we were talking about with people that hoard things, it's a little bit harder to get them to kind of put one foot in front of the other and kind of go. So there was a couple different things. She didn't have the stuff ready when I had the movers ready, so they had to move like half of the stuff, and then I came personally the next day and helped her package stuff up, and then I brought a U-Haul over personally the next day to help her move the stuff to her next place. But that's what it is. It's you're a problem solver. So,
that's it.
Yeah. So it's whatever it was to kind of help the seller and get the deal done. So
love it.
Yeah.
So how are you for the remaining 2021, how are you going to keep more of these deals? How are you going to build up your cash buyer database and your disposition process? Because you know what? Here's the thing. The interesting thing, and I really liked that you said this. You said, and this is during the team meeting that we were at, that you really wanted to focus on the lead generation side and not get distracted. If you found the deals, you just want to get the ball rolling, build some momentum, build up a nice, heavy, healthy bank account, and then keep expanding. And I think that's fantastic. But I'm telling you, it's time to start expanding the rest of the business side. And listen, I did the same thing. I was averaging $12,000 a deal, $12,000, selling to the same 2 or 3 cash buyers. And then I opened that up. I listened to this podcast, Wholesaling Inc. I listened to Tom Kroll on this podcast, joined that program, and since 2016 really exploded my business because I built my cash buyer database. And it was the time to do that. So now it's your time to do it.
Right.
How are you going to do it?
A lot more networking, that kind of thing. Like I said, like you had said, I wanted to focus all of my time on finding deals initially, because if you don't have a contract, you really don't have anything.
That's it.
There's probably a lot of people out there that go, try to find cash buyers and build up their list and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, hey, if I bring you a deal, would you be interested in buying it? And then they never bring a deal. So it's like, I figured it would be a better move for me to find a whole bunch of deals and start putting out those deals. And I just knew that if I put in the work and did the things that I was supposed to do, God would kind of put the right people in my life, and that's exactly what's happened. And like I said, it was able to allow me to build a foundation. But yeah, I do need to start getting out, and now that I'm not on the phones every day from 9 to 7, I'll have more time to go out and kind of expand the business, find more ways to get more deals, and like you said, build up a cash buyers list so that I'm not as dependent on
Is it crazy that you are making $1,100 a day? Right?
Yeah.
That's bananas.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
$1,100, right? And it's only, I'm telling you, it's going to be $2,500 real fast.
Yeah. Well, this actually, I just 2 weeks ago hired a cold caller from Call Motivated Sellers, and I moved one of my best friends from high school down to he's making some calls for me, and he actually already locked up a deal. So we're actually doing a deal right now that I'm not even really involved in.
I know,
which is
you're
pretty
in
amazing.
Phoenix. He's doing the deal in Tampa, right?
Yep.
And it's what? How much are you gonna make?
We're gonna make $21,000 off that one.
Fantastic. So. That is absolutely fantastic. I love it. I was just for everybody that doesn't know, on Fridays, anybody that's in the TTP family can fly in, spend some time with my team, really look at all the deals, look at our deal breakdown, our scoreboard, look underneath the hood of my business. And I was just talking, Jeremy, my disposition manager, sold a deal for $33,000. I had never even heard of the address or the deal or the seller or anything. And it's just like, oh my gosh, what an incredible business. I mean, it's just this business is so unbelievable. Listen, if you want to be a real estate investor, the foundation of being a real estate investor is finding discounted properties. It truly is. You figure out that, and you can start doing everything else that you want to do that really build that you really like, those big dreams that you have, whether it's having a big portfolio or whether it's, being the best fix and flipper in your market that puts out the best houses, or if it's you want to be the bank and lend the money and earn, passive income that way, or developer, any of these things. It's so exciting, but it starts with finding discounted properties. That is the start. That's what they don't give you the instructions in Rich Dad, Poor Dad. They don't give you instructions in Think and Grow. They don't give you instructions in The One Thing. This is where you get the instructions, right. This podcast, and really just taking it and understanding that if you have distressed property owners and you have a quality conversation with them, that's the whole business. That's it. And then you start building relationships with cash buyers, and you're rocking and rolling. So that's fantastic. So how do people get a hold of you? How do people reach out to you? They want to say congratulations. They want to connect with you in Tampa. How do they do it? Yeah, you could, probably the best way to reach out with me to be on Instagram. I'm at Camrada_13. KAMRADA_13. So yeah, that's probably the best way. I'm not super active on social media. I probably need to change that. I've been thinking about getting more active on there, but yeah, I'll respond to messages on there. Get loud. Yeah, get loud. Show people what you're doing, and people are going to respond. Right. And then all of a sudden you're going to get referrals for opportunities. You're going to get cash buyers coming out of nowhere. It's going to be fantastic. So you need to build your cash buyer database and get loud. And you've got $1 million business. I'm telling you, you've got it. So that's fantastic. What's the big goal? What's the big real estate or just personal, financial goal? What is it? Is it owning a bunch? Is it the passive income thing? Is it the staying in action and flipping thing? What is it for you? Yeah, I mean, I think I'll always want to have at least a little bit of something to do with my wholesaling business. I want to build it to where it's mostly hands off. But I'll probably always stay somewhat involved in that. But I want to start getting into buy and holds and Airbnbs, especially in my area. It's, if you can find it in a good area, you can make a killing off Airbnb. So yeah, I would say, I mean, I want to build up this wholesaling business to kind of just be consistently bringing deals across my desk, and then I'll cherry pick the ones that I want to keep for myself and turn them into rentals or Airbnbs. I don't really see myself doing a whole lot of flipping, but that's just how I feel now. I love it. So that could change. That could change in a year. Yeah. Well, it's really interesting because I'm telling you, like, the top wholesalers that I talk to, their like retirement strategy is Airbnbs, and they're making a fortune off of like 10, 20, 30 Airbnbs. They're making an unbelievable amount of money. So it's a great strategy, but it starts with finding the discounted properties. That's it. Right now it's just building a system to be consistently bringing me discounted properties, and then I can kind of do what I want with them from there. So I love it. Yep. I love it. A resource that Nick mentioned, callmotivatedsellers.com. I've used them for 3 years. They are not like the least expensive VAs to make the calls. They are they're the best. They're the Rolls Royce of hiring phone prospectors. You can check that out at Call Motivated Sellers. Make sure you use TTP and as a code in there, and you get moved to the front of the line. But Nick, fantastic. Thank you for coming into Phoenix and visiting me.
Thanks for having me, man.
And for everybody out there that is interested in joining the most proactive group in real estate investing with Nick here, it is the TTP family. It is the TTP coaching program. Go to wholesalinginc.com/TTP. That's wholesalinginc.com/TTP. Check out what it's all about. Check out all the testimonials, all the successes. I mean, we've got the most incredible wholesalers from around the country showing their successes on there. It's fantastic. You're going to have to scroll for a while. If it feels good in your belly, then sign up for a call, and we look forward to speaking with you. And I look forward to working with you personally. Until next time. Thank you, Nick. Fantastic. What an inspiration.
Thank you.
And for everybody out there, I love you, and I encourage you to talk to people. See you later.